No one trains an assassin to survive a lifetime, only to function until something finally breaks. The chamber awoke before he did. Cold crept through the slab beneath his spine, rising with mechanical patience. The stone was not stone, but compressed reliquary alloy, etched with channels that pulsed faintly, like veins remembering blood. Somewhere inside the walls, engines turned at devotional speed. Each rotation shook dust from places no one had entered in centuries. Subject Theta Null opened his eyes because the lights demanded it. They did not brighten, they arrived, a sudden clinical existence that erased shadow without warmth. His pupils constricted on instinct, and instinct burned into him long before memory was permitted. Pain followed, as scheduled, a precise pressure behind the eyes, a reminder that consciousness was conditional. He did not move. Movement was logged, breathing was logged. Hesitation, if it occurred, would be corrected. A voice began reciting numbers from the ceiling, not spoken, emitted, syllables compressed into a monotone cadence that scraped the inside of the skull. Biometrics, neural compliance, degradation indices, each value slid into place like a verdict that had already been decided. Theta Null listened without reacting. Reaction was unnecessary. The chamber already knew him better than he knew himself. They called him an Imperial assassin, but no one had ever told him what that meant, only what it required. The slab unlocked with a sound like bone parting. Servitors emerged from recesses in the walls, pale forms folded around surgical instruments, polished to a mirror sheen. Their faces had been replaced by icon masks, expressions frozen in reverence or agony. It was impossible to tell which had been intended. One of them reached for his left arm. Theta Null raised it exactly 3 centimeters, exposing the vein the machine expected. The needle slid in without resistance. Something cold entered him, something corrective. His thoughts slowed. The edges of the room softened, as if reality itself were being gently restrained. The voice changed frequency. Asset readiness confirmed. He hated that word, asset. It suggested ownership without responsibility, use without memory. It implied that whatever he had been before no longer mattered, and that whatever he would become was not his to claim. They unsealed the chamber doors. Beyond them lay the cathedral corridor, a spine of iron stretching into dimness. The ceiling disappeared into ribbed arches thick with cables, each cable tagged with parchment seals that fluttered in the artificial wind. Incense burned somewhere far above, its smoke sinking rather than rising, clinging to the air like residue from a thought that refused to die. Theta Null stepped down from the slab. His feet found the floor without looking. The corridor adjusted its gravity to his weight, a subtle accommodation. He was expected. As he walked, the walls whispered, not words, not exactly, more like the afterimage of prayers spoken by mouths that had been sealed shut long ago. The sound pressed against his skull, searching for seams. It always did. He passed observation alcoves, where robed figures stood motionless behind glass thick enough to stop artillery. Their faces were obscured by lenses and sensor veils. They did not acknowledge him. He was already categorized, already processed. A symbol burned briefly on the floor ahead, an execution mark rendered in light. He stopped on it. Pain blossomed in his chest. Not physical, directive. A cascade of conditioned response flooded his nervous system. Images rose unbidden. A city reduced to hab-block stumps under ash-filled skies. A council chamber silent, except for the sound of a man choking on his own blood. A child's face glimpsed through a scope and dismissed as irrelevant data. The
pain sharpened until his knees threatened to fail. "Purpose reinforcement complete," the voice said, almost gently. The symbol faded, the pain receded, leaving behind a hollow clarity that felt worse than the suffering. They were reminding him why he existed. Theta Null resumed walking. He did not ask where he was being sent. He never did. Missions were not explained, only activated. Knowledge created variance. Variance created doubt. Doubt was inefficient. At the far end of the corridor waited the drop chapel, its doors carved with scenes of nameless figures kneeling beneath colossal machinery. The carvings had been worn smooth by time or design. Individual features had eroded until only submission remained. As the doors opened, cold void light spilled out, carrying with it the distant hum of a ship too large to comprehend as a single object. Somewhere within that mass, a place existed that required him to die slowly, precisely, and without witnesses. Theta Null stepped forward. The doors sealed behind him. The chamber exhaled, satisfied, for now.
The corridors did not end, they multiplied. Each passage was a calculated lie, a labyrinth designed to disorient the body while disciplining the mind. Theta Null moved through them without pause, yet every step was measured, catalogued, and expected. Sensors embedded in the walls traced his pulse, his gait, the microscopic changes in the skin. He was observed more intimately than any friend, yet he had never felt the warmth of human scrutiny. The air changed subtly as he advanced. It was thicker, laden with the metallic tang of machinery and something else, a faint scent of decay he had learned to ignore. The ship, the cathedral, the Imperium's endless labyrinths, they were alive, not in the organic sense, but in the calculated, predatory way that systems knew the shape of inevitability. Every creak of pipe, every hiss of vent was an affirmation. Nothing here existed for comfort. Theta Null reached the antechamber, a vast expanse dominated by machinery that seemed simultaneously ancient and sentient. Gears the size of small houses turned slowly, grinding against each other with a rhythm that suggested patience, not efficiency. Pistons pushed and pulled with silent insistence. Somewhere deep within the structure, a reactor hummed low, a constant reminder that energy was life and life was expendable. Servitors flanked the entrance, their movements exact and synchronized. They held instruments that could heal or terminate with equal precision. Theta Null ignored them. He had learned long ago that compliance was not submission, but survival. To act out of instinct was a liability. At the center of the antechamber stood a viewport, a frame of obsidian glass thick enough to resist bombardment. Beyond it stretched the void, a tapestry of stars distorted by the proximity of some unseen gravitic mass. The ship moved silently through the darkness, yet it was clear it carried a cargo far greater than its physical bulk suggested. The anomaly, they had called it, though the name meant nothing to him. It was simply a presence, a whisper that roiled minds and left no witness untouched. Theta Null's reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, the face of a man who had never truly existed outside expectation. Lines he did not remember etched his features. Eyes too tired for someone who had not lived decades stared back at him. There was no fear in them, only recognition that the inevitability of his path had been determined long before his birth. The intercom crackled. A voice modulated beyond natural inflection spoke directly into the marrow of his bones. Target parameters locked. Proceed with extraction protocol. Extraction protocol. Another layer of obedience disguised as instruction. Theta Null acknowledged silently. There was no choice but to comply. Compliance was survival. Survival was function. Function was the only mercy the Imperium allowed. He stepped onto the transit pad. The floor shifted subtly beneath him, adjusting to weight, posture, and intent.
The pad glowed faintly, revealing the geometric precision etched into its surface, patterns designed not for aesthetics, but for cognitive conditioning. Each step reinforced focus, eliminated hesitation, and reminded the body that distraction was death. A portal of light opened, and he entered the chamber beyond. It was a narrow, tubular space, lined with pipes and conduits that hummed with energy he could feel in his chest. The walls pulsed faintly, as though alive, breathing in tandem with the ship's core. Theta Null moved forward, each step a deliberate act of synchronization. He had been conditioned to this rhythm, to the understanding that misstep or lapse would not be forgiven. As he advanced, fragments of memory intruded, flashes of training, of being conditioned, of the first time pain had been introduced as a tool rather than a consequence. Faces he did not recognize, but were impressed upon his mind like scars, appeared briefly before vanishing. Instructors, overseers, victims, all indistinguishable now except in the weight they carried. The overseer deck overlooked the anomaly chamber. The anomaly itself was not immediately visible. It was more a distortion, a rippling absence of light and matter that warped perception. Instruments struggled to render its form, and the crew who approached it often did not return. The deck's lights reflected off the glass, catching in the strain etched across Theta Null's face. A low vibration thrummed through the floor. The anomaly responded to presence. It was not sentient in a human sense, but it knew. Awareness stretched beyond comprehension, a force that whispered inevitability. The crew had learned to fear it, to obey it, to respect it as one would respect the slow decay of stars. Theta Null surveyed the chamber. Every movement, every calculation he had made in the past led here. His role was simple: enter, observe, neutralize if necessary, return, or fail and become part of the system's growing list of erasures. He drew a breath, the sound swallowed immediately by the hum of machinery. There was no pause for reflection. Humanity was irrelevant, only function mattered, and he was, in every recorded metric, perfect. Yet perfection was never enough. The anomaly pulsed, subtle at first, then with deliberate insistence, as if aware of his presence. Theta Null took a step forward, and the floor beneath him seemed to hesitate. Reality itself bent imperceptibly, the air growing heavier, charged with anticipation and dread. This was why no one left the anomaly chamber unchanged, not alive, not intact. And Theta Null, trained to endure what most could not even comprehend, felt for the first time a question intrude, not of strategy, not of orders, but of existence itself. Was obedience enough to survive inevitability? The answer would come, unbidden, and it would not be merciful.
The anomaly did not wait. It did not strike in fury, nor did it roar with malice. It simply existed, and existence alone was a weapon. Theta Null stepped closer, the deck beneath him humming with a frequency that matched his heartbeat, or perhaps dictated it. The instruments lining the observation chamber flickered and hissed, unable to reconcile presence with form. He could feel it in his bones, a quiet insistence that the world was not as it should be. The air thickened, a subtle compression that made lungs work harder, though breathing remained automatic. Every fiber of his training screamed to retreat, yet instinct was irrelevant here. He had been stripped of instinct, replaced with function. Compliance was the only armor, and he wore it like a second skin. The anomaly pulsed again, a silent wave that made his vision warp. It was neither darkness nor light, yet it refracted everything in between. Theta Null understood in a way the instruments could not. It existed in layers beyond perception, a fracture in reality itself. To observe was to change. To move was to be changed, and every change carried consequences no human system could quantify. Servitors behind him recorded every micro-expression, every neural microsecond. They emitted no sound, only the soft whir of lenses and mechanical limbs. One raised a diagnostic arm, scanning him, confirming readiness. Theta Null did not acknowledge it. Acknowledgement was an invitation for error. He advanced. The deck's surface was irregular, undulating subtly as if responding to his weight and intent. He felt the anomaly's pull, not like gravity, but more intimate, insinuating itself into memory, perception, even thought. Images flashed behind his eyes, corridors collapsing into themselves, voices whispering names he could not recognize, machinery folding over machinery until nothing remained but static. He pressed forward, and the anomaly responded, a ripple passing through the void beyond the viewport, bending light and sound into a distortion that made the room feel simultaneously vast and claustrophobic. Theta Null's heartbeat quickened, though externally his form remained controlled, precise. Instruments shrieked in warning, servitors adjusted, but the anomaly ignored them as if they were irrelevant background noise. It was not sentient in a human sense. It was inevitability given form, and inevitability did not negotiate. Theta now reached the edge of the observation platform. Beyond, the anomaly stretched, a void that should not have been possible. The subtle vibration in his chest grew into resonance, threading through nerves and marrow alike. He understood without thinking that to linger was to invite dissolution, yet moving too quickly would trigger unknown consequences. He drew from training, a compartmentalization drilled into every synapse. Fear, awe, instinct locked away. Only the mission existed, only function mattered. Every step calculated, every breath regulated, every thought constrained. And yet, the pull was relentless. It sought comprehension, and comprehension was pain. A shift occurred, a subtle bending of space within the viewport. Theta Null noticed it, not as sight, but as inevitability. The anomaly reacted, a surface of impossibility pressed against reality, stretching and folding in a pattern no mind could sustain for long. He could feel it in the marrow, timelines overlapping, events compressed and undone before they occurred. He was not afraid. He had been stripped of fear. He was aware. Awareness was its own terror. The servitors moved behind him, aligning for extraction. Their presence was not comforting. It was affirmation. Function must continue. Observation must proceed. And yet, even they could not fully interpret what was happening. Their instruments, their systems, all fell silent in the face of the anomaly. Theta now reached the platform's terminal, a console embedded in the deck itself. Its interface pulsed, responsive to his biosignature alone. Data streamed in ways he could understand only partially, anomalous readings that made sense and then unmade themselves in the same instant. To read was to change was to survive or fail. He tapped the first command. The anomaly quivered, almost as if acknowledging the act. Not recognition, not communication, merely response, inevitable and silent. A wave of dread swept through him, not personal, but systemic. The machinery, the ship, the Imperium itself recoiled in subtle synchrony. And then the deck shifted again, not mechanically, but perceptually. The walls leaned, the floor pulsed, the lights danced across surfaces that had no right to exist. Theta Null realized with a clarity that had no room for comfort. The anomaly did not care for survival. It did not care for orders. It did not care for function. It was, and being alone was more destructive than any weapon. He completed the sequence. The console locked. Data transmitted. The anomaly pulsed once faintly, and the room seemed to sigh, an acknowledgement or a warning. Theta Null stepped back from the terminal, chest tight but controlled. There would be no celebration. There would be no relief. The anomaly did not forgive. It did not forget. It existed beyond comprehension, beyond mercy, beyond hope. He turned. The exit was waiting. Servitors flanked him. Instruments hummed. The ship continued its unfeeling voyage through the void. Theta Null walked, not as a man, not as a ghost, but as function, an instrument of inevitability within a machine that understood despair in ways no human could. The corridor stretched before him. Shadows clung to corners where light should have been. Pipes hummed a low dirge, and somewhere deep within the heart of the anomaly, inevitability waited, patient, indifferent, eternal. Theta Null survived, for now, but survival was only temporary.
The ship did not sleep. It never slept. Its hull groaned like the bones of a dead god, each vibration carrying the weight of centuries of purpose. Theta Null moved through corridors that curved impossibly, twisting in angles that defied natural geometry, yet were perfectly measured. Every junction, every hatch, every airlock was a sentence in a language older than the crew. The ship spoke to him, not in words, but in insistence. Compliance was the only translation. He had left the observation deck hours ago, though time was meaningless here. The anomaly's resonance still lingered in his marrow, a dull ache that whispered consequences even when he was far from the viewport. The ship's interior had shifted since he entered it. He could not say if the change was mechanical, systemic, or something else entirely. Shadows pooled in unnatural ways. Lights flickered, not from failure, but from awareness, as if the structure itself watched him with patient calculation. Theta Null reached the central conduit, a vast cylindrical shaft encased in ribbed iron and thick glass. Pipes, cables, and conduits spiraled down its length, carrying energy, fluids, and information in ways too vast for comprehension. The conduit hummed low, a resonance that threaded through bone and nerve, shaping perception without permission. He stepped onto the graded catwalk, each footfall echoing like a verdict. A servitor descended the shaft beside him, chains and pistons moving with deliberate synchrony. Its mask bore the silent icon of the Imperium, though even that symbol seemed eroded in the unnatural light. Theta Null noted its presence, but did not acknowledge it. Observation alone was enough. Any display of thought or emotion could be cataloged, dissected, corrected. The conduit opened into a chamber larger than most hab blocks, a cathedral of machinery. Massive gears rotated overhead, slow and relentless, grinding against one another with infinite patience. Steam hissed from vents along the walls, carrying an acrid tang that clung to his lungs. Screens and hololiths projected data streams that were only partially readable, anomalous readings, energy fluctuations, and warnings that defied classification. At the center of the chamber lay the mission target, a containment sphere, blackened and imperceptible in its surface, suspended by energy fields that hummed with unholy precision. The sphere was small, deceptively simple, yet the instruments surrounding it went silent when approached. Theta Null understood the lesson immediately. It was not the anomaly itself that threatened life, but its absolute, unmeasurable presence. He stepped closer. The sphere pulsed faintly, rhythmically, as if breathing. Every movement in the room was mirrored by micro-shifts in the gravitational field. His balance adjusted automatically, though he had learned to feel the imperceptible tug of inevitability in every step. He knew that this mission was not about destruction or capture. It was about endurance. Observation alone would exact a toll. A low vibration passed through the floor. Theta Null did not flinch. Flinching was unnecessary. The servitor beside him raised a scanning array, sweeping over the sphere. Readings flooded the hollow interface. Impossible energy signatures, temporal distortions, quantum anomalies unrecorded anywhere in the Imperium. The vessel, the crew, and Theta Null himself were only minor participants in a system far larger, far more indifferent. He activated the interface. A holographic display unfolded above the sphere, projecting schematics that were both familiar and alien. Algorithms traced themselves in looping sequences that made sense only in broken fragments. The chamber adjusted to his presence, lights shifting, floors subtly flexing, air currents forming patterns he could not explain. The sphere responded. not in sound, not in movement, but in awareness. The lights flickered, the hum deepened, and a pressure settled in his chest. This was not threat, it was not invitation, it was. And being present meant being accounted for. Theta Null's hand hovered over the control console. Every instinct drilled into him screamed to proceed with absolute precision. One wrong motion, one hesitation, and the system would note it, adjust, punish. Yet even precision offered no guarantees. The anomaly, in all its forms, defied expectation. He initiated the first scan. Data streamed in fragmented pulses, impossible to reconcile. Patterns emerged and dissolved almost immediately. The chamber seemed to breathe with each fluctuation, pipes and conduits flexing as if alive. Theta Null felt the pull of inevitability intensify, threading through the marrow and sinew. The sphere was not merely contained, it reacted, quietly, imperceptibly, like a predator acknowledging the presence of prey that was still unaware. The servitor beside him emitted a low vibration, a diagnostic hum. Theta Null ignored it. He was not here for reassurance, and the machine's interpretations were irrelevant. Observation was the only protocol, and protocol demanded patience. Time stretched, moments folded in on themselves. Theta Null continued the scan, aware that the sphere's influence was extending. His perception of the chamber changed subtly with each pulse, as if the walls themselves were learning him, anticipating his movements. A soft, almost imperceptible sound reached his ears, a vibration from the containment field, a whisper of imbalance. He felt it before he understood it, a resonance that threaded through everything, the conduit, the ship, the sphere, and himself. He could not retreat. Retreat was impossible, and yet forward carried the same inevitability, endurance, observation, survival, not for glory, not for reward, but for the silent affirmation that function remained intact in the face of the unthinkable. The sphere pulsed again. Theta Null exhaled, not in relief, but in recognition. He was inside the mechanism now, a component of the system, yet wholly aware of its infinite indifference. Every breath, every heartbeat, every neural spark was cataloged and assessed, and the sphere waited. Waiting was its power. Waiting was inevitability, and Theta Null had no choice but to continue.
The corridors did not end, they multiplied. Each passage was a calculated lie, a labyrinth designed to disorient the body while disciplining the mind. Theta Null moved through them without pause, yet every step was measured, catalogued, and expected. Sensors embedded in the walls traced his pulse, his gait, the microscopic changes in the skin. He was observed more intimately than any friend, yet he had never felt the warmth of human scrutiny. The air changed subtly as he advanced. It was thicker, laden with the metallic tang of machinery and something else, a faint scent of decay he had learned to ignore. The ship, the cathedral, the Imperium's endless labyrinths, they were alive, not in the organic sense, but in the calculated, predatory way that systems knew the shape of inevitability. Every creak of pipe, every hiss of vent was an affirmation. Nothing here existed for comfort. Theta Null reached the antechamber, a vast expanse dominated by machinery that seemed simultaneously ancient and sentient. Gears the size of small houses turned slowly, grinding against each other with a rhythm that suggested patience, not efficiency. Pistons pushed and pulled with silent insistence. Somewhere deep within the structure, a reactor hummed low, a constant reminder that energy was life and life was expendable. Servitors flanked the entrance, their movements exact and synchronized. They held instruments that could heal or terminate with equal precision. Theta Null ignored them. He had learned long ago that compliance was not submission, but survival. To act out of instinct was a liability. At the center of the antechamber stood a viewport, a frame of obsidian glass thick enough to resist bombardment. Beyond it stretched the void, a tapestry of stars distorted by the proximity of some unseen gravitic mass. The ship moved silently through the darkness, yet it was clear it carried a cargo far greater than its physical bulk suggested. The anomaly, they had called it, though the name meant nothing to him. It was simply a presence, a whisper that roiled minds and left no witness untouched. Theta Null's reflection shimmered faintly in the glass, the face of a man who had never truly existed outside expectation. Lines he did not remember etched his features. Eyes too tired for someone who had not lived decades stared back at him. There was no fear in them, only recognition that the inevitability of his path had been determined long before his birth. The intercom crackled. A voice modulated beyond natural inflection spoke directly into the marrow of his bones. Target parameters locked. Proceed with extraction protocol. Extraction protocol. Another layer of obedience disguised as instruction. Theta Null acknowledged silently. There was no choice but to comply. Compliance was survival. Survival was function. Function was the only mercy the Imperium allowed. He stepped onto the transit pad. The floor shifted subtly beneath him, adjusting to weight, posture, and intent. The pad glowed faintly, revealing the geometric precision etched into its surface, patterns designed not for aesthetics, but for cognitive conditioning. Each step reinforced focus, eliminated hesitation, and reminded the body that distraction was death. A portal of light opened, and he entered the chamber beyond. It was a narrow, tubular space, lined with pipes and conduits that hummed with energy he could feel in his chest. The walls pulsed faintly, as though alive, breathing in tandem with the ship's core. Theta Null moved forward, each step a deliberate act of synchronization. He had been conditioned to this rhythm, to the understanding that misstep or lapse would not be forgiven. As he advanced, fragments of memory intruded, flashes of training, of being conditioned, of the first time pain had been introduced as a tool rather than a consequence. Faces he did not recognize, but were impressed upon his mind like scars, appeared briefly before vanishing. Instructors, overseers, victims, all indistinguishable now except in the weight they carried. The overseer deck overlooked the anomaly chamber. The anomaly itself was not immediately visible. It was more a distortion, a rippling absence of light and matter that warped perception. Instruments struggled to render its form, and the crew who approached it often did not return. The deck's lights reflected off the glass, catching in the strain etched across Theta Null's face. A low vibration thrummed through the floor. The anomaly responded to presence. It was not sentient in a human sense, but it knew. Awareness stretched beyond comprehension, a force that whispered inevitability. The crew had learned to fear it, to obey it, to respect it as one would respect the slow decay of stars. Theta Null surveyed the chamber. Every movement, every calculation he had made in the past led here. His role was simple: enter, observe, neutralize if necessary, return, or fail and become part of the system's growing list of erasures. He drew a breath, the sound swallowed immediately by the hum of machinery. There was no pause for reflection. Humanity was irrelevant, only function mattered, and he was, in every recorded metric, perfect. Yet perfection was never enough. The anomaly pulsed, subtle at first, then with deliberate insistence, as if aware of his presence. Theta Null took a step forward, and the floor beneath him seemed to hesitate. Reality itself bent imperceptibly, the air growing heavier, charged with anticipation and dread. This was why no one left the anomaly chamber unchanged, not alive, not intact. And Theta Null, trained to endure what most could not even comprehend, felt for the first time a question intrude, not of strategy, not of orders, but of existence itself. Was obedience enough to survive inevitability? The answer would come, unbidden, and it would not be merciful.
The anomaly shifted again, not violently, not dramatically, but with the imperceptible insistence of inevitability. Theta Null felt it before he saw it, a subtle distortion of space that bent light, gravity, and perception simultaneously. The chamber responded as if alive. Pipes trembled, conduits pulsed, floors flexed. Even the servitors beside him moved in microsynchrony, adapting instinctively to a reality that no human had designed. Theta Null's hands hovered over the terminal. Data streamed across the holographic interface in a chaotic symphony of impossible readings. Quantum fluctuations collided with energy signatures that refused interpretation, folding back upon themselves in ways that rendered instruments useless. Yet the training drilled into him remained unbroken. Observe, record, survive, function without hesitation. The sphere pulsed faintly, as if breathing. It responded not to action, but to presence. Each step he took, each neural impulse he fired was accounted for. The chamber, the anomaly, and the vessel itself were entangled in an intricate, unfeeling calculus that left no room for error. Theta Null was both observer and component, a living metric in a system beyond comprehension. A vibration threaded through his spine, subtle yet insistent. He recognized it immediately, the anomaly's acknowledgement. Not threat, not invitation, recognition of inevitability. The sensation expanded through marrow and nerve, imprinting awareness without sensation. He understood, even in this brief instant, that the anomaly's influence was not linear. It operated across dimensions, timelines, and probabilities simultaneously. He adjusted stance and breath, moving closer to the sphere. The floor beneath him flexed imperceptibly, the lighting shifted in response, and shadows deepened unnaturally. Every detail, the hum of machinery, the whisper of airflow, the subtle tension in the servitor's joints, was part of a calculated pattern. Resistance was meaningless. Compliance, while insufficient for survival, was the only means to remain functional. Theta Null initiated a tertiary scan. Streams of data coalesced briefly, only to unravel almost immediately. The anomaly resisted understanding, folding information into recursive loops that challenged cognition. For the first time, he sensed the limits of his training. Every protocol, every contingency he had internalized was inadequate. The anomaly existed beyond all boundaries. A soft pulse radiated from the sphere, reverberating through the chamber. The effect was physiological as well as perceptual. Muscles tensed, nerves heightened, awareness sharpened to an unbearable clarity. He cataloged every response, every micro-reaction, compartmentalized with precision. Fear was irrelevant. Function remained paramount. The servitors maintained their positions, silent witnesses to an encounter they could neither comprehend nor influence. Their purpose was observation and enforcement, yet even they were subordinate to the anomaly's immutable logic. Theta Null noted their alignment with careful scrutiny, though he derived no comfort from it. Allies were illusions. Survival required understanding only the patterns of inevitability. A sudden shift occurred. Light warped, angles bent, and the air thickened subtly, almost imperceptibly, yet enough to disturb equilibrium. The sphere pulsed once more, longer this time, as if measuring endurance rather than compliance. Theta Null's mind adapted, compartmentalizing the distortion, allowing function to persist where instinct might have failed. He recognized the truth. The anomaly was not an obstacle to overcome, it was a condition to endure. Survival depended not on action, but on integration, on moving within the parameters it imposed without awareness of its full scope. Each micro-adjustment, each observation was a negotiation with inevitability itself. Theta Null stepped back from the terminal, chest tight but controlled. The chamber's resonance faded slightly, yet its presence remained, patient and indifferent. Every instrument, every wall, every shadow was a part of a system that would continue whether he succeeded, failed, or ceased to exist. The servitor signaled readiness for extraction. Theta Null did not acknowledge them. Departure was procedural, devoid of ceremony. The mission was not glory, not reward, not survival. It was function maintained in the face of overwhelming, unrelenting reality. He exhaled, a controlled, measured motion. Awareness remained intact. Function remained intact. Observation continued. The anomaly pulsed again, subtly, without sound, without warning, existing beyond comprehension. Theta Null turned toward the exit. Every step was precise, every thought was catalogued. He moved as he always had, not as a man, not as a ghost, but as a component within a system of dread, machinery, and inevitability. Outside the chamber, the corridors stretched interminably. Pipes hummed, vents whispered, shadows clung to impossible angles. The ship carried him onward, unfeeling, eternal. And somewhere in the distance, the anomaly waited, patient, indifferent, absolute. Survival remained temporary. Inevitability remained infinite.
No one entered the upper decks unprepared, and yet every step forward was an invitation for the impossible to assert itself. Theta Null moved along corridors that had no natural end, their steel walls warped in ways that defied geometry, yet were mathematically precise. Every footfall echoed through the vessel's vast iron skeleton, a reminder that the ship itself was alive, patient, and indifferent. The anomaly's resonance lingered in his marrow, an ache that refused to fade. It had imprinted itself not merely on memory, but on perception, distorting even the familiar. Corridors that should have been empty shifted subtly as he passed. Shadows stretched and contracted in patterns that mocked comprehension. The ship had already catalogued him, recalculated and adjusted to his presence. He was never alone, though no one watched him with human eyes. Theta Null reached the junction leading to the upper operational decks. Access ports glimmered faintly under the dim industrial light, each door etched with sigils meant for function rather than ceremony. Servitors hovered nearby, pistons and joints articulating with perfect synchrony, instruments clattering softly in the ambient hum. They were guardians, observers, and tools, yet their presence was a reminder that even they were subordinate to the machinery and the anomaly beyond comprehension. He stepped onto the grated floor of the main operational hub. Enormous conduits arched overhead, carrying power and data through the vessel like arteries of iron and energy. Hololithic displays flickered with impossible readings, looping patterns that defied understanding. Each holographic interface pulsed rhythmically, as if in time with some unseen, inexorable heartbeat. Theta Null did not flinch. Observation was the only currency here, and he had mastered it long before he understood its toll. At the center of the hub, a command console rose like a monolith, etched with markings whose purpose had been obscured by time and entropy. Streams of data folded in on themselves, revealing glimpses of the ship's movement through void space, trajectory anomalies, and subspace distortions that should not have existed. The anomaly had left its imprint here as well, subtle and relentless. Every system, every protocol bent to accommodate something beyond comprehension. Theta Null activated the console. His neural imprint granted access immediately. Data flowed into his awareness in fragmented torrents. Energy fluxes spiking where none should, subspace distortions twisting time within microseconds, unidentified mass signatures moving unpredictably. He cataloged each fluctuation silently, compartmentalizing fear, awe, and instinct. Only function remained, only observation. A vibration passed through the deck,
Not violent, not alarming, but deliberate, measured. It threaded through bone and nerve, tugging awareness toward the upper hull, toward systems that demanded scrutiny. Fate Null felt the anomaly's shadow linger over the operational hub, its presence impossible to quantify, yet undeniable. Every micro-adjustment he made, every breath, every thought, was accounted for and mirrored in the responses of the vessel. He moved to the viewport at the far end of the deck. Beyond it, the void stretched endlessly, distorted by subspace warping, colored with hues that existed between known spectrums. Somewhere in that distance, unseen and unmeasurable, the anomaly pulsed again. Its presence was not violence, but inevitability, a quiet insistence that all functioned under its gaze. A new signal flickered on the console, a secondary fluctuation in energy conduits feeding the upper decks. Fate Null did not hesitate. Action was not choice, it was necessity. He aligned the systems with the vessel's rhythm, stabilizing power flows with precise calibration. The servitors monitored, silent and exact. Even they were not allowed to interfere beyond their designated parameters. The anomaly responded. Light bent subtly along the walls. Conduits shivered in recognition of the adjustment. The pulse resonated deeper, threading through the deck, through machinery, through the very marrow of Theta Null's bones. Awareness sharpened, function intensified. Observation became a deeper form of communion with inevitability itself. He exhaled softly, almost imperceptibly, as the hub stabilized. No relief followed. There could be none. The anomaly's influence remained, patient, indifferent, eternal. Every system aligned, yet the presence beyond remained beyond understanding, an unyielding reminder that survival was temporary and inevitability infinite. Fate Null turned toward the maintenance access ramps, ready to continue his patrol. The upper decks stretched endlessly, corridors folding upon themselves, pipes and conduits spiraling like veins of an iron leviathan. Every shadow, every hum, every vibration was a note in a symphony of dread. He walked forward. Observation remained, function remained, survival persisted, but only as a temporary measure against the ever-encroaching inevitability of the anomaly.
The upper decks were not forgiving. They had never been intended for comfort or habitation. Theta Null moved along narrow catwalks flanked by conduits that throbbed with energy beyond comprehension. Each vibration threaded through bone and marrow, embedding awareness deeper into the system of the vessel. The anomaly's influence was faint but persistent, like a shadow pressing against the edges of perception. The corridor ahead bent subtly, angles impossible for any natural architecture, yet precise and functional. Servitors flanked him, pistons moving with quiet, ritualized synchrony. Their instruments hummed softly, reading not only environmental conditions, but the operator himself. Every heartbeat, every micro-movement, every adjustment of balance was catalogued. Theta Null did not acknowledge them. Observation was enough. Any interaction beyond function was irrelevant and potentially catastrophic. He reached a junction leading to the engineering manifold. The doors were unadorned, save for embossed sigils whose meanings had long since faded. The console beside the entrance flickered with energy readings, fluctuating in ways the sensors struggled to interpret. Theta Null aligned himself with the interface, accessing subroutines that reported conduit integrity, power oscillations, and structural stress points. The anomaly's subtle influence bent the data streams, introducing distortions impossible to predict. A low hum resonated through the deck, not from machinery, but from the anomaly itself. Theta Null felt the vibration propagate through his spine, threading into every fiber of his being. Awareness sharpened, reflexes adjusted, yet no fear arose. Fear was irrelevant. Function remained absolute.
The chamber beyond the doors opened onto a vast manifold, a cathedral of pipes and conduits twisting impossibly toward unseen systems. Steam hissed from vents in rhythmic pulses, carrying the metallic tang of coolant and the faint acrid scent of machinery under strain. Hololithic displays flickered with energy readings, looping in impossible cycles, yet the anomaly's presence remained the only constant. Theta Null approached the central maintenance terminal. His neural imprint unlocked access immediately, flooding him with fragmented data. Energy surges that defied prediction, subspace distortions folding microseconds into themselves, unidentified mass signatures fluctuating like echoes of events that had never occurred. He cataloged the readings silently, compartmentalizing the incomprehensible, storing the data with cold efficiency. A subtle shift passed through the manifold. Conduits flexed imperceptibly, shadows deepened unnaturally, the air thickened. The anomaly responded, not with aggression, but with quiet insistence. Theta Null adjusted his stance, calibrating every muscle and joint, synchronizing himself with the rhythm of inevitability. Observation was the act of survival. Alignment was the only safeguard against the incomprehensible. Servitors maintained positions, scanning and monitoring without deviation. Their presence was neither comforting nor threatening. They were functional instruments, witnesses to a process they could neither understand nor influence. Theta Null moved between them and the terminal, hands steady, mind clear. He executed micro-corrections in energy distribution, stabilizing conduits that threatened to destabilize under the anomaly's subtle perturbations. The terminal pulsed faintly, a soft acknowledgement of compliance. Theta Null exhaled slowly, the motion controlled, deliberate. Function persisted. Observation continued. The manifold hummed in quiet resonance, threading through floor, walls, and ceiling, connecting every subsystem in a complex lattice of energy and purpose. The anomaly pulsed again. It was not violent, it did not roar, it merely existed, and in existence it dictated terms. Theta Null felt its presence like a current under his skin, a persistent reminder that comprehension was irrelevant, control impossible. Every action he took was catalogued, measured, folded into the inevitability that dominated the vessel. He stepped back from the terminal. The reading stabilized, yet the influence remained. No relief followed, no understanding, only the continuation of function, the alignment of systems, the endless observation of forces beyond human perception. Theta Null moved deeper into the manifold, each step deliberate, each breath controlled. Shadows stretched along impossible angles, pipes and conduits twisted like veins of a living organism. The vessel itself responded to his presence, flexing and vibrating as if aware of his role within it. Survival was not guaranteed. Compliance was not sufficient. Only alignment, quiet, measured, and unrelenting, permitted endurance. And the anomaly waited, patient, absolute, eternal, a silent arbiter of inevitability.
The manifold stretched on, endless and unyielding, twisting in angles that mocked comprehension. Theta Null moved with precise rhythm, each step measured against the subtle pulses that threaded through the decks. The anomaly's presence was faint but insistent, a constant pressure on perception, bending light and shadow, whispering inevitability into marrow and sinew. He approached a junction where multiple conduits converged. The air thickened here, charged with energy the instruments could not classify. Hololithic displays flashed incomprehensible readings, looping in patterns that made no sense yet demanded attention. The anomaly was near, though its presence remained intangible, impossible to contain, impossible to name. Servitors flanked him, their pistons articulating with ritualized precision.
They carried instruments capable of stabilization, analysis, even termination, but their capabilities were meaningless. The anomaly existed beyond measurement. To act without alignment was to invite erasure. Theta No understood this instinctively. Observation alone was the only viable protocol. He stepped onto the central catwalk, suspended over a tangle of conduits that hummed like veins in a colossal organism. Steam hissed in rhythmic pulses, and faint vibrations threaded through the iron floor. Every element, the pipes, the conduits, the servitors, the deck beneath him, was an instrument of inevitability, calibrated to the rhythm of the anomaly. The terminal at the junction pulsed with energy. Theta Null accessed it through neural imprint, streams of data flooding his awareness, energy surges, temporal distortions, subspace fluctuations, and mass signatures that defied reality. Each reading folded into the next, unraveling comprehension, yet he cataloged them with cold precision. Function demanded nothing less. A subtle vibration passed through the deck, threading into his bones. It was the anomaly acknowledging his presence, not as threat, not as invitation, but as fact. Awareness sharpened. Every micro-adjustment he made, every breath, every heartbeat, aligned with the system of inevitability that dominated the upper decks. Light shifted subtly along the walls. Shadows deepened unnaturally, stretching at impossible angles. The conduits flexed like tendons, responding to forces he could not measure. Theta No understood instinctively. The anomaly was not reactive, but omnipresent, folding reality to its pattern of absolute inevitability. He began the final scan of the manifold. Streams of energy readings streamed across the interface, looping in recursive sequences, intertwining temporal signatures and impossible spatial distortions. Theta Null's compartmentalization allowed him to record each fluctuation without pause. Observation was function, function was survival, and survival existed only as long as alignment persisted. The anomaly pulsed again, faintly but with deliberate insistence. Theta No felt it threading through every system in the upper decks, bending conduits, bending perception, bending him. Fear was absent. Only awareness remained. Only duty remained. Only the measure of inevitability that governed the vessel and everything aboard it. He stepped back from the terminal. The manifold had stabilized, though its harmony was temporary. The anomaly had not receded. It had merely observed, waiting. Waiting was its dominion. Waiting was its weapon. Waiting reminded all who entered that comprehension was irrelevant, survival provisional, and function eternal. Theta No moved toward the exit ramps. The catwalk stretched into shadows that should not exist, illuminated only by faint industrial light that bent unnaturally. The servitors flanked him silently, observers to a process they could neither influence nor interpret. He passed without acknowledgement, every step deliberate, measured, precise. The vibration pulsed once more through floor and bone. Theta Null understood the message. Alignment was not choice, compliance was insufficient, and inevitability remained absolute. Every corridor, every pipe, every shadow was a reminder that the vessel and the anomaly were patient, eternal, indifferent. He exhaled softly, chest tight but controlled. Observation continued. Function persisted. Survival remained temporary, and inevitability remained infinite. The upper decks stretched before him, corridors folding upon themselves like the innards of a colossal, unfeeling machine. And somewhere deep within the anomaly, waiting, the truth of existence pressed, silently, patiently, inexorably.
No one traveled the inner decks willingly. The corridors were narrow, metallic and unforgiving, bending at impossible angles that made navigation a calculated exercise in endurance. Theta Null moved with a measured gait, each footfall synchronized with the imperceptible vibration of the ship's massive frame. The anomaly's influence lingered faintly in his marrow, a quiet insistence threading perception, reshaping awareness, and reminding him that function alone was insufficient for survival. He reached the threshold to the inner operations sector. The doors were unremarkable, yet etched with faded sigils whose original meaning had long been lost to time. The air shifted subtly as he approached, thicker, charged, and resonant with unseen energy. Conduits overhead hummed in complex rhythms, feeding the systems that maintained the ship's structure, its energy flow, and the machinery that monitored him. Every pulse threaded through bone and nerve, asserting presence without violence. Servitors flanked the corridor, pistons articulating with ritualized precision. Their instruments tracked vital signs, micro-adjustments, and neural activity. Theta Null did not acknowledge them. Interaction was unnecessary. Observation was function. Function was survival. Survival was the only currency in a system dictated by inevitability. He stepped onto a grated catwalk that overlooked the central manifold. Below, pipes and conduits twisted like the tendons of a colossal organism. Steam hissed in rhythmic pulses. Hololithic displays projected energy readings, looping in fractal sequences that defied comprehension. Theta Null adjusted his stance instinctively, synchronizing breath, posture, and perception with the subtle rhythm that the anomaly imposed upon the vessel. At the center of the sector, a containment array loomed. Its surface was blackened, reflecting nothing, absorbing light and bending perception at the edges. Instruments surrounding it failed intermittently, registering anomalies too complex to interpret. Theta Null understood immediately. This was not a failure of engineering, but the presence of the anomaly's influence. Observation alone would exact a toll. He accessed the control terminal embedded in the catwalk. Neural imprint confirmed authorization, and streams of data unfurled in fragmented torrents, energy surges, spatial distortions, temporal feedback loops, and unclassified mass fluctuations. Each reading folded in on itself before analysis could stabilize it. Compartmentalization was the only tool that allowed him to process this, filtering chaos into precise records without reflection or emotion. A soft vibration passed through the deck, not a threat, not a warning, but a persistent, inevitable acknowledgement. Theta Null felt the resonance thread through marrow and sinew, sharpening awareness, demanding alignment. Function demanded no hesitation. Observation required total immersion. Every micro-movement, every breath, every flicker of neural activity was catalogued by the ship, the anomaly, and the mechanisms surrounding them both. He stepped closer to the containment array. Light bent subtly along the walls. Shadows deepened unnaturally. Pipes flexed as though alive, responding to forces beyond perception. The anomaly pulsed faintly within the blackened sphere, neither violent nor active, only existing, an immovable, unrelenting presence. Its pattern threaded through reality, subtly altering cause and effect, collapsing time in micro-increments, warping space, and asserting inevitability. Theta Null initiated the first scan. Streams of data surged across the terminal, twisting in recursive sequences and impossible loops. Each fluctuation challenged cognition, but he cataloged them precisely, storing awareness without fear, emotion, or hesitation. Function remained absolute. Observation persisted. Survival, however temporary, was contingent on alignment, not comprehension. A subtle shift occurred. The catwalk pulsed in micro-rhythms, walls flexed slightly, and the air thickened. Theta Null adjusted stance and breath, synchronizing with the anomaly's rhythm. The servitors mirrored his movements, silent witnesses, incapable of influence, yet essential for the maintenance of system order. The sphere pulsed again, slower this time, deliberate, insistent.
Theta Null felt the anomaly's acknowledgement threading deeper into perception, threading through the decks, the conduits, the catwalk, and the very marrow of his bones. Survival depended not on intervention, not on mastery, but on measured alignment with inevitability itself. He exhaled slowly, chest tight but controlled. The inner decks stretched ahead, corridors bending endlessly, conduits spiraling like veins in a colossal machine. Observation continued, function persisted, and the anomaly waited, patient, eternal, indifferent.
The inner decks were a crucible. Theta Null moved along catwalks that twisted at angles no natural mind could reconcile, each step a negotiation with space, structure, and the silent insistence of inevitability. The anomaly lingered, faint yet pervasive, threading perception, shaping awareness, bending thought in ways both subtle and inescapable. Every corridor, every pipe, every shadow existed as a reminder that function alone was the only defense against its unyielding presence. He reached a junction where multiple conduits converged. The air thickened here, resonant with energy readings that instruments could neither classify nor stabilize. Hololithic displays looped in impossible sequences, revealing glimpses of fluctuations in power flows, temporal distortions, and spatial anomalies that refused interpretation. Theta Null scanned, recorded, and compartmentalized. Observation was a weapon, function was survival. Survival, however provisional, required discipline beyond instinct. Servitors flanked him, pistons and joints articulating with mechanical precision. Their instruments monitored neural activity, micro-adjustments, and every heartbeat. Theta Null did not acknowledge them. Interaction was unnecessary, observation was sufficient. The anomaly measured everything, including his alignment with it. Any lapse would not be forgiven. The system required absolute fidelity to pattern and protocol. He approached the maintenance terminal embedded in the junction. Neural imprint unlocked access instantly. Streams of data poured into awareness. Energy surges defying calculation, mass signatures fluctuating in imperceptible ways, and temporal sequences folding back upon themselves in recursive loops. Each reading was impossible to fully comprehend, yet he recorded and cataloged them with mechanical precision. Function required no emotion. Observation demanded nothing but attention. A soft vibration pulsed through the deck. Not alarm, not threat, merely presence, imperceptible yet insistent. Theta Null felt the resonance thread through bone, marrow, and sinew, sharpening awareness to its maximum threshold. He adjusted posture, breath, and stance, aligning every micro-movement with the rhythm of inevitability. To resist was irrelevant. Survival required adaptation. Observation demanded total immersion. The anomaly pulsed again, subtly, deliberately. Shadows stretched along walls, bending light unnaturally. Pipes flexed as if alive. Conduits shifted in micro-responses to forces beyond measurement. Theta Null's mind cataloged the interaction without reflection. Fear, hope, desire, none applied here. Only alignment, only function, only endurance. He initiated a secondary scan of the converging conduits. Data streams twisted, overlapped, and folded upon themselves. Fluctuations in energy output defied every metric. Temporal readings suggested sequences occurring before and after themselves, simultaneously. Theta Null processed the information, compartmentalizing perception from cognition, storing knowledge without comprehension. Function persisted, observation continued, survival remained provisional. A sudden distortion rippled along the catwalk. Walls leaned at impossible angles, light bent around edges that should not exist. Air currents shifted subtly yet perceptibly. Theta Null responded with precise, micro-adjusted movements, each step calculated to maintain equilibrium.
The servitors mirrored him flawlessly, instruments humming softly, their presence a silent affirmation that function had been maintained in the face of the incomprehensible. The sphere pulsed again, longer and more deliberate. Theta Null felt it threading deeper into perception, bending awareness and reality alike. The anomaly did not threaten, it did not command, it simply was, and being present meant participating, measured, precise, and without deviation. He exhaled slowly, chest tight but controlled. The inner decks stretched endlessly before him, corridors folding upon themselves, conduits spiraling like the veins of a living machine. Observation persisted, function remained intact, survival was temporary, inevitability was eternal. And somewhere deep within the anomaly, waiting, patient, indifferent, the system measured him, and all that he had become.
The manifold corridors of the inner decks seemed infinite, yet Theta Null walked them with the precision of inevitability itself. Every step was catalogued, every breath measured, every neural impulse monitored, not only by the ship's systems and the servitors flanking him, but by the anomaly, whose presence pulsed faintly through the steel and marrow alike. It did not move, it did not strike, and yet it commanded all attention, bending perception and awareness with quiet, absolute insistence. He reached the central operations hub, a cathedral of conduits, hololiths, and machinery that hummed with a resonance both mechanical and incomprehensible. Pipes twisted overhead like arteries, carrying power and coolant in rhythms that threaded through the deck and into the vessel's iron skeleton. Energy readings flickered on the hololiths in impossible cycles, twisting in recursive loops that defied cognition. Theta Null scanned the data, compartmentalizing each fluctuation, storing awareness without thought, without hesitation. Observation was action, function was survival. The containment array lay at the hub's center. Its blackened surface absorbed light, refracted perception, and resisted measurement. The instruments surrounding it had gone silent, registering only anomalies that could not be interpreted. Theta Null understood instantly. The anomaly had extended its influence, shaping not only the environment, but the tools meant to monitor it. Observation here was not passive, it was endurance, a negotiation with inevitability itself. A subtle vibration threaded through the floor, deep into bone and marrow. Theta Null adjusted stance, breath, and perception in micro-calibrations, aligning with the rhythm of the anomaly. Servitors flanked him silently, mirrors of mechanical discipline, incapable of comprehension, yet precise in function. Alignment was survival. Deviation, even unintentional, would invite erasure. He accessed the terminal embedded in the deck. Neural imprint confirmed authority, and streams of data flooded awareness. Temporal anomalies folding over themselves, energy surges defying calculation, spatial distortions compressing and elongating simultaneously. Each reading folded into the next, impossible to interpret fully, yet he recorded them with meticulous detachment. Function demanded accuracy. Observation demanded endurance. Survival depended on alignment. The sphere pulsed faintly, deliberately, threading through the manifold of decks like a current. Shadows deepened unnaturally, bending at impossible angles. Light warped along the edges of pipes and conduits. The vessel itself seemed to respond, flexing subtly, breathing with the rhythm of inevitability. Theta Null catalogued every effect silently, awareness sharpened to the edge of comprehension. He moved closer to the containment array. The air thickened, charged with a subtle pressure that tugged at perception. Each step was precise, micro-adjusted, aligned to maintain equilibrium with forces he could neither see nor fully measure.
Servitors mirrored him flawlessly, their instruments recording every heartbeat, every micro-movement, every trace of neural adjustment. Observation had become communion with the unyielding system. Alignment was the only safeguard against the incomprehensible. The sphere pulsed again, longer this time, a deliberate act of presence rather than aggression. Theta Null felt it threading deeper, bending the environment, bending the very marrow of his awareness. Fear, hope, hesitation, they were irrelevant. Only function remained, only observation, only endurance. Survival, if it existed at all, was provisional. He exhaled, chest tight but controlled. The hub stretched endlessly, conduits spiraling, shadows clinging to impossible angles, hololiths flickering in chaotic loops. Every element, every micro-adjustment, every breath threaded into the system of inevitability that governed the vessel, the anomaly, and all who traversed its decks. Theta Null turned toward the maintenance ramps leading deeper into the ship. Function persisted. Observation continued. Survival remained temporary, and inevitability remained eternal. And the anomaly waited, patient, indifferent, absolute, measuring all that he had become and all that he had yet to endure.
No one survived the upper gridge unaltered. Theta Null moved along the corridors like a measured shadow, every step synchronized with the subtle vibrations threading through the vessel's frame. The anomaly had not faded. Its presence persisted, faint but undeniable, pressing against perception, bending awareness, threading inevitability into marrow and sinew alike. Each corridor, each shadow, each conduit was a reminder. Function was survival, and survival was never permanent. He reached the threshold to the upper bridge. The doors were unadorned, save for faded sigils etched deep into the metal, remnants of purpose long forgotten. The air was thick here, charged with subtle energy currents that instruments could neither quantify nor stabilize. Theta Null paused, assessing micro-fluctuations in temperature, pressure, and electromagnetic interference. The anomaly had left its mark, subtle and persistent, on every system in the upper decks. Observation alone exacted a toll. Servitors flank him, silent and precise, pistons articulating in ritualized synchrony. Their instruments scanned neural activity, heart rate, micro-adjustments in posture. Theta Null did not acknowledge them. Interaction was unnecessary. Observation was function. Function was survival. Survival was provisional, contingent on alignment with the inexorable system that governed the vessel. He stepped onto the grated floor of the upper bridge. Overhead, conduits arced like colossal veins, carrying energy and information through the ship's iron skeleton. Hololithic displays flickered with impossible readings, looping in recursive sequences that challenged cognition. The anomaly's influence threaded through every system, bending patterns, folding space and time in micro-increments, asserting quiet inevitability. At the center of the bridge, a command terminal pulsed faintly. Theta Null accessed it through neural imprint, data streaming in torrents, energy surges that defied prediction, spatial anomalies, temporal distortions, and unclassified mass signatures fluctuating in imperceptible ways. Each reading twisted upon itself before comprehension could settle. Compartmentalization allowed him to process, record, and endure. Function demanded precision. Observation demanded endurance. A subtle vibration threaded through the deck. Not a threat, not alarm, merely presence, persistent and absolute. Theta Null adjusted posture, stance, and breath,
aligning every micro-movement with the rhythm imposed by the anomaly. To resist was meaningless. Survival required alignment. Observation required total immersion. The anomaly pulsed faintly, deliberately. Shadows deepened unnaturally along the walls. Light bent around edges it should not have reached. Conduits flexed as if alive. Theta Null cataloged each effect, recording awareness without reflection or hesitation. Emotion had no place here. Only function, only observation, only endurance. Survival existed temporarily. Inevitability endured eternally. He exhaled slowly, chest tight but controlled. The upper bridge stretched endlessly, consoles flickering with incomprehensible data streams, shadows clinging to impossible angles. Servitors mirrored him silently, instruments humming softly, incapable of comprehension, yet flawless in execution. Alignment was survival. Deviation meant dissolution. Theta Null approached the command terminal. The anomaly's pulse intensified subtly, threading through the vessel, the deck, and deep into his marrow. Awareness sharpened. Function remained absolute. Observation continued. Survival remained provisional, and inevitability remained infinite. Beyond the viewport, the void stretched impossibly, distorted by subspace fluctuations, colored in hues that should not exist. Somewhere in that darkness, the anomaly waited, patient, indifferent, absolute. Theta Null was ready. But readiness was only the beginning.
The upper bridge was a cathedral of function and inevitability. Theta Null moved along its grated floors with measured precision, every step synchronized with the vibrations threading through the vessel's iron skeleton. Conduits arched overhead, flexing subtly as energy pulsed through them, carrying currents too vast and complex for comprehension. The anomaly's presence lingered, faint but insistent, threading awareness through marrow and sinew, bending perception into alignment with inevitability. He paused at the central command console. Hololithic displays flickered in chaotic loops, energy signatures folding back upon themselves, temporal sequences collapsing into microcycles that defied interpretation. Theta Null accessed the interface through neural imprint. Data poured in torrents, surges in subspace energy, spatial anomalies stretching corridors into impossible angles, mass readings that suggested presence and absence simultaneously. Every reading twisted unpredictably, yet he cataloged them with cold, absolute precision. Observation was function. Function was survival. Survival existed only temporarily. A subtle vibration passed through the deck, threading into bone and marrow. Theta Null adjusted stance and breath, micro-calibrating posture to maintain equilibrium. The anomaly responded, not violently, not actively, but with quiet insistence, bending the environment and perception simultaneously. Every shadow deepened unnaturally. Light bent around edges of machinery. Conduits flexed like tendons of a living organism. Alignment was the only safeguard against dissolution. Servitors flanked him silently, their pistons articulating with ritualized exactitude. Instruments monitored every micro-adjustment, every heartbeat, every neural spike. They could neither comprehend nor influence the anomaly. They were witnesses, instruments, extensions of function. Theta Null did not acknowledge them. Interaction was unnecessary. Observation alone was sufficient. The containment array at the center of the bridge pulsed subtly. Its blackened surface absorbed light, distorted perception, and resisted measurement. Instruments surrounding it failed intermittently, registering only fragments of anomaly-influenced readings. Theta Null understood immediately. The anomaly had extended its influence. It did not strike, it did not command, it existed, and that existence was absolute.
He initiated a tertiary scan. Streams of data twisted recursively, folding into themselves, defying cognition. Temporal anomalies overlapped with energy surges, spatial readings distorted unpredictably. Theta Null processed, cataloged, and stored each fragment without hesitation. Function demanded precision. Observation demanded endurance. Survival was provisional, measured against the unrelenting presence of inevitability. A sudden shift pulsed through the deck. The catwalk beneath him flexed imperceptibly. Shadows stretched along impossible angles. Air shifted subtly, carrying the faint metallic tang of overheating conduits. Theta Null micro-adjusted stance and breath, moving as a component within the system of inevitability, aligning every movement with the rhythm the anomaly imposed. The sphere pulsed again, deliberate, patient. Theta Null felt its influence threading deeper into perception, bending awareness, threading through the vessel, the deck, and into marrow. It catalogued it without thought, without reflection. Fear, hope, hesitation, irrelevant. Only function, only observation, only endurance remained. Survival persisted, temporary. Inevitability endured, absolute. Theta Null exhaled slowly. The upper bridge stretched endlessly, consoles flickering with incomprehensible data, shadows clinging to impossible geometries. Servitors mirrored him silently, precise instruments in a system they could neither control nor comprehend. Alignment was survival. Deviation meant erasure. Beyond the viewport, the void pressed against perception. Subspace distortions twisted the distant stars into impossible shapes, colors that should not exist bleeding into each other. Somewhere within that darkness, the anomaly waited, patient, indifferent, infinite. Theta Null advanced. Observation continued. Function persisted. Survival remained provisional, and inevitability waited, absolute.
The upper bridge stretched into impossible angles, a labyrinth of conduits, catwalks, and hololithic interfaces, each element vibrating with the quiet insistence of inevitability. Theta Null moved deliberately, every step measured, every micro-adjustment synchronized with the subtle pulses threading through the vessel's iron skeleton. The anomaly's presence was no longer faint. It pressed upon perception, bending awareness, threading inevitability into marrow and sinew with every heartbeat. He approached the central containment array. Its blackened surface absorbed all light, resisted measurement, and seemed to devour comprehension itself. Instruments surrounding it flickered and failed intermittently, recording anomalies only in fragments. Theta Null understood immediately. The anomaly did not strike, it did not communicate, it simply was. Its existence dictated terms. Observation alone was participation, and participation exacted its toll. A subtle vibration threaded through the deck, deep into bone and marrow. Theta Null adjusted stance, breath, and posture in micro-calibrations. Every movement was alignment with inevitability. To resist was meaningless. Deviation invited dissolution. Servitors mirrored him silently, perfect instruments of observation, incapable of comprehension, incapable of interference. Their presence affirmed function, but offered no comfort. The hololithic displays pulsed erratically, projecting energy readings, temporal distortions, and spatial anomalies that twisted upon themselves. Theta Null processed each stream with compartmentalized precision, storing awareness without thought or hesitation. Function remained absolute. Observation persisted. Survival, provisional though it was, depended on perfect alignment with forces that could neither be resisted nor comprehended. The anomaly pulsed again, deliberate, patient, absolute. Shadows deepened along impossible corridors. Light bent unnaturally around conduits and catwalks.
The vessel itself flexed subtly, responding to the anomaly's imperceptible rhythm. Theta Null felt it threading through every subsystem, every conduit, every pulse of energy, and into the marrow of his bones. Awareness sharpened, function intensified, endurance demanded nothing less than total precision. He exhaled slowly. The upper bridge seemed to fold upon itself, shadows twisting, consoles flickering, light bending in impossible ways. Every element, the catwalk beneath him, the conduits above, the servitors flanking him, was part of a system far greater than comprehension. Alignment remained his only safeguard. Observation was the only defense. Survival existed temporarily. Inevitability endured absolutely. Theta Null stepped closer to the viewport. Beyond it, the void stretched in impossible dimensions. Stars fractured into shapes that should not exist, their light bending and bleeding across subspace distortions. Somewhere, unseen and infinite, the anomaly waited. Patient, indifferent, absolute. He exhaled again, chest tight, mind precise. Observation continued. Function persisted. Survival remained provisional. And inevitability, inevitable, eternal, measured him and all that he had become with quiet, unrelenting patience. The vessel groaned. The conduits hummed. The shadows shifted. Theta Null remained. And the anomaly waited.